Hi, everyone. We're going to talk about developmentally appropriate practice. When you hear the words developmentally appropriate practice, what do you think? What would you expect to see in developmentally appropriate classrooms serving various age groups, infants, toddlers, preschoolers, kindergartners, and/or primary grade children? Developmentally appropriate practice is carefully planned, intentional teaching based on what is known about the developmental stages and ages of the children we teach. The goal of developmentally appropriate practice is to bring children to their full potential in our four different domains: cognitively, socially, emotionally, and physically. The three core considerations of developmentally appropriate practice are knowing about child development and learning, knowing what is individually appropriate, and knowing what is culturally important. There are 12 principles of child development and learning. All areas of development and learning are important. Learning and development follow sequences. Development and learning proceed at varying rates. Development and learning result from an interaction of maturation and experience. Early experience have profound effects on development and learning. Development proceeds towards greater complexity, self-regulation, and symbolic or representational capacities. Children develop best when they have secure relationships. Development and learning occur in and are influenced by multiple social and cultural contexts. Children learn in a variety of ways. Play is an important vehicle for developing self-regulation and promoting language, cognition, and social competence. Development and learning advance when children are challenged. Children experiences shape their motivation and approaches to learning. So these are the 5 guidelines for development appropriate practices, or DAP: creating caring community of learners, teaching to enhance development and learning, constructing appropriate curriculum, assessing children's learning and development, establishing reciprocal relationships with families. 10 effective DAP teaching strategies. Developmentally appropriate practices is shortened to DAP. You acknowledge what children do or say. You encourage persistence and effort rather than just praising and evaluating what the child has done. You give specific feedback rather than general comments. Model attitudes, ways of approaching problems, and behavior towards others, showing children rather than just telling them. Demonstrate the correct way to do something. Create or add challenge so that a task goes a bit beyond what the children can already do. This is Vygotsky's scaffolding philosophy or theory. Ask questions that provoke children's thinking. Give assistance to help children work on the edge of their current competence. Again, that's scaffolding. Provide information directly, giving children facts, verbal label, and other information. And give directions for children's actions or behavior. Developmentally appropriate practice means that young children tend to be concrete thinkers. We understand that young children are often egocentric, that young children generally have centered thinking, one variable at a time, and young children tend to confuse appearances, right? That idea of putting your thumb up and how your thumb covers the moon, and thinking that their thumb is bigger than the moon because of that. Developmentally appropriate practice knows that children learn best when adults recognize their individual needs and interests. Children are encouraged to explore what excites their curiosity, and young children learn best through a combination of explanation and exploration or experience. Encourage children to use their senses to feel, taste, see, and experience new things. Provide hands-on experience to help children explore the world directly or to extend their experience and add more understanding or learning to what they already know. Give children simple directions, one step at a time. So Gardner's multiple intelligence. This theory states that each person has different ways of learning and different intelligences they use in their daily lives. While all people possess all intelligences, most experience one dominant intelligence, which impacts the way they learn. So Gardner believes that learning occurs in social situation with a dominant intelligence. And so these are the different intelligence: bodily, kinesthetic, interpersonal, verbal linguistic, logical mathematical, naturalist, interpersonal, visual spatial, and musical. DAP promotes all types of learning, and so you recognize that all children are intelligent in different ways. For one child, language may be his or her strength, while the another child, it may be music, mathematics, science, drama, or something else. We help children develop and become aware of their own strengths. We create an atmosphere that is open to children's expanding development, and identify and use children's strengths to address their weaknesses. If a child is good at expressing himself or herself through sound and music, but does not easily grasp math concepts, try using musical rhythms to demonstrate these concepts or possibly a pattern. What does an encouraging DAP classroom look like? You have emergent curriculum, creative art and journals, manipulative-based cognitive activities, hands-on, experience-based, abundant learning centers, small group experiences, large group sessions, and child choice in the daily program. How can you teach to a child's strength? At mealtime, Lisa noticed that Haley is starting to grab for the spoon. The baby isn't old enough to feed herself, but she sure is determined to try. What would you do? Lisa gets Haley her own spoon, and later in the day, she gives Haley another spoon and a bowl to play with. Lisa selects materials for Haley with her specific interest and developmental progress in mind. Countless small actions like this make up best practice for infants and toddlers. How can you teach to a child's strength in the preschool room? In the Dramatic Play Center, 2 4-year-old girls are pretending to read menus. What would you do? Maria, noticing that neither girl has taken on the role of waiter, takes a notepad and pencil in hand and asks them, "May I take your order?" Over the next few days, more children join the restaurant play. Waiters set up tables, take orders, give orders to the cook, and prepare checks for diners. Maria is an observant, inventive, and intentional teacher. Her intervention sparks fresh play, tempting children to take on different roles, enrich their social language interactions, and use writing and math for new purposes. How can you teach to a child's strength in a kindergarten classroom? Mrs. K notices that Kiara is doing an alphabet puzzle. Then she sees that Shelley is attempting to build a complicated block tower in the block area. What would you do? Miss K sits with Kiara, going over letter sound correspondence. Then she goes to the block area to help Shelley. Mrs. K doesn't make pronouncements. Instead, she respectfully waits for the right moment to build on children's existing conversations. She listens attentively and understands where, when, and how to intervene. She joins in the children's play, modeling positive behavior. Her contributions are subtle, playful, and full of teaching. With the many differences among and wide age range of kindergartners, teachers should be responsive to developmental, individual, and cultural variations. How can you teach to a child's strength in an elementary classroom? The first graders sit in a circle, squeamishly watching their teacher pick up a Madagascar hissing cockroach. Ms. Block explains that the class will be hosting the new pet for several weeks. What would you do? Ms. Block takes the insect around, giving each child a chance to have a good look. Okay, what questions do we have? Katrina asks. One at a time so I can write them down. Maybe we can find the answers to all our questions if we study our new pet. The children have a lot of questions, and over the next few days, as they observe the insect, come up with even more. Intrigued, the class eagerly undertakes the new research project. It's good practice for early grade teachers to set aside time blocks for specific skill and concept study. Having time to focus helps children learn. DAP promotes all types of learning. Recognize that all children are intelligent in different ways. We've kind of talked about this already. Help children develop and become aware of their strengths. Identify and use children's strengths to address their weaknesses. Are DAP guidelines appropriate for children with special needs? This debatable issue in DAP for teaching young children with special needs is that the DAP guidelines do not consider sufficiently the needs of children who have disabilities. These children may need a curriculum that provides early direct intervention, highly structured learning experiences, and extrinsic or outside of themselves motivation, such as high praise, tokens, stickers, and other reinforcements. Modifications of the DAP guidelines may be needed for your children with special needs. Thanks, everyone. See you online.